How'd you go live on your work?
Because I did a live stream for them.
Okay, the destinations. Which ones are for work, and which
Well,
ones
we're
are?
live. We're live again, but on mine. So we're live on LinkedIn. Will you check real quick on there?
Yep.
Let's hope this works. All right. Yeah, so I went live on the wrong LinkedIn account. So I have to go play disaster recovery mode because I was doing a live stream for them. So Brandon, will you kick us off this week here in just a minute?
Yeah, well, we're live right now. I just see us on LinkedIn. So
Yep.
first, welcome everyone. Coming out to the CISSP cutting into cybersecurity. You've got Joel Bork, who's doing some troubleshooting right now, and then you got myself, Brandon Krieger. We are here to study with you when it comes to cybersecurity and the CISSP, going through all the domains, all 8 of the domains, and walking through all the information. If you're here, give us a thumbs up, say hi in the chat. We're monitoring both, and we're having a little fun with everything that's going on. How are you guys doing since last week, or if you've got some new people here? How's things going for 2021? Joel, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm still trying to remove a few posts, and I got to get into an event here shortly. But no, I'm doing great. It's 2021. I've been through a detox already. I'm still coffee free and beer free, which is quite the feat because I am addicted to caffeine. So I'm here. I'm ready to rock. You ready to go?
Oh, ready to go.
Cool.
Yeah, I said automation, quality, practice, leader, security. Thanks for coming out, Sarah. It's always good to have you out. Sarah's going to be our champion for today, I'm sure, when we do some of the test questions. So it's going to be awesome.
All right, so let me switch back over to the live stream, and then I'll kick us off real quick because I owe you guys some questions. So real quick, if you guys can give thumbs up or claps, I am just jumping into this, so I want to see who's all here. And let me get over, and Brandon, you're not my co-host in Restream, so you can throw stuff up like this. Like you can follow us on Twitter. These are our Twitter handles. If anybody's still on Twitter after this last week, hopefully you haven't been kicked off. I heard they're shutting down. Did you hear that, Brandon?
What, Twitter's shutting down?
Yeah.
I've heard different things. We'll see. I'm sure on the 20th for the States, I'm sure a lot of the social sites will go mute, right? Just because they're going to, try to prevent any protests, anything that's going on. And, in Canada always hear about the negative side of, what's going on in the States. So, hopefully everyone's safe or everyone's okay. But we always hear like the dramatic news. And well, it's like, have you ever watched those movies where you hear the background soundtrack and you knew if the soundtrack was nice and fluffy, it wouldn't be that scary, but it's the dun 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 dun. And so it's even more scarier.
Well, and it could be on the same video clip, but it was like completely innocent. And then it's like terrifying. Like, oh my gosh, she's a creeper, all because of the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we get when we get the Canadian news, what's going on in the States, is that's what we hear. Instead of la 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 la, we hear dun 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 dun. Protest is going on at the Capitol. Dun 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 dun.
That is too funny. Well, cool. Well, hey, on your chat on Restream, can you see any of these? Could you throw one of Sarah's or Asit's comments up on the screen real quick? Can you see if you can do that under the chat? I'm not seeing anything in my chat right now.
Yeah, so right now I'm not seeing any of the LinkedIn or YouTube chats coming in through.
That may be my fault. Let me see if I can hop on over to the chat and get that up and running. Will you guys put some chat in here real quick? Just smiley faces, etc.
Oh, Sarah's going to give us some hearts. She's laughing.
She's singing with you. She's singing with you. So I don't know why their chat's not coming through today. It says I'm all set up and ready to rock. So anyways, well, we may not be able to share your questions on the screen today, so I apologize, but I promise we will figure that out by next week. And if we can't, we will poke Restream about that. So cool. Let's go ahead and get started. We have some questions for you guys. So thank you for joining. I'm immediately going to put you through a test. I hope you're ready. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So welcome Salone, welcome Sarah, welcome Ryan, welcome. I saw Dylan was on. I hope we can get who else is on. We got Angelina on. Christine, you're here. Welcome back. So we're going through, this is week 2 of security models, and we even got one of our questions is a question about security models. So I know we haven't covered it yet, but it's on this, and so be prepared to learn post-quiz the information that you're going to learn here today. So question number 14 today is, which of the following is the best reason for the use of an automated risk analysis tool? A, much of the data gathered during the review cannot be reused for subsequent analysis. B, automated methodologies require minimal training and knowledge of risk analysis. C, most software tools have user interfaces that are easy to use and do not require any training. Or D, information gathering would be minimized and expedited due to the amount of information already built into the tool. All right, guys.
So what do you think, Joel? If you're gonna narrow this down.
Yeah, so okay, so you want me to narrow it down today? So I think much of the data gathered during the review can't be reused. That's ridiculous. You always want to keep that for a baseline for next year. Automated methodologies require minimal training. Well, yeah, but that's not the best reason. Most software tools have user interfaces. Get out of here. I like command line interface any day. And information gathering would be minimized and expedited. Yep, that's going to be it, right? You want to expedite the process.
Before you answer, we already started getting some answers. So Austin says D already, right? And then you're leading towards D. Is that what I'm hearing, Joe?
Yeah, I'm with him. So let's go ahead and see D for 500. Woohoo, we got it. Yes, it's collecting all necessary data that needs to be plugged into risk analysis equations, and properly interpreting the results can be overwhelming if done manually. So we are spot on, guys. All right.
So hold on a second. I just put on the screen. Give me a thumbs up, guys, if everyone can see the actual questions.
Yeah, so remember, we're about 10 seconds delayed, so let's wait for those thumbs up to come in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I just noticed they weren't on the screen.
Yeah, so even mine is a little further delayed than that, so I should probably refresh my LinkedIn. I may be behind everybody else, but yep, we got some answers in. Looks like Sarah got it right as well. Congratulations. Let's move on to the next one, though, just since it looks like they can read it. So this was one of the first weeks of this session, was how is the annualized loss expectancy, or the ALE, derived from the threat? And I think we can expect on the exam that they're not going to give us the full name. It'll just say, how is ALE derived? And we'll have to know this equation. Is it ARO times SLE minus EF? Is it SLE times ARO? Or C, SLE divided by EF? Or D, AV times EF? Brandon?
So let's go through the acronyms, what they mean, right?
Yeah.
Annual rate of occurrence, single loss expectancy. EF is exposure factor.
Yep.
Right? So you kind of go through that. Now you kind of know, okay, which ones can you eliminate, right? Well, the annual rate of occurrence, then the single times the single loss expectancy, that's not going to be it, right? In the effect, exposure factor. So I'm already kind of seeing like where I'd go. I'd narrow it down to B, but you like single loss expectancy versus exposure factor doesn't tell you that, like the annual loss expectancy.
Yeah.
So you're starting to look at AV times EF. No, right? That's not it. So narrowing that down as what we've known, what we've been studying, SLE times ARO.
Yeah.
So single loss expectancy times the annual rate of occurrence.
Right. And you got to remember, so why is that? Well, because if it's the annualized loss expectancy, what are you looking for? You're looking at how much you can expect to pay or expect to lose every single year. So if you have the single, your SLE times the ARO, you're going to get that value. Yeah. So let's go ahead and take a peek. It is B, because once again, single loss expectancy, what happens if it happens a single time times the annual rate of occurrence, right? So you have, if it happens a single time, it's $10. How many times will it happen that year? You multiply it times 5, boom, you have your annualized rate of occurrence. And that is your equation. Yep, so it looks like we got Christine got it right. Salome, you should know this one. I know you knew it, but that they did throw that trick question in there with the minus EV on there. It's not. This is straight up multiplication, single loss times your annualized rate of occurrence. But great job, guys. All right, moving on to the next one. What does residual risk mean? Brandon, you want to read this one real quick?
Give me a second here and pull up. Okay, so we got A, the security risk that remains after controls have been implemented. B, weakness of assets, which can be exploited by a threat. C, risk that remains after risk assessments have been performed. And then D, a security risk intrinsic to an asset being audited where no mitigation has taken place. So now when you're reading that through, as we go through and try to eliminate and narrow that down, what does residual risk mean? Right? Do the security risk that remains after controls have been implemented? I'm leaning to A, right? Because weakness of assets which can be exploited by a threat is not residual risk.
Remaining after that, right?
Right. Risk that remains after a risk assessment has been performed.
But remember, risk assessment, you're not changing the risk with the assessment. You're just assessing it. Right. So there's not more or less risk after an assessment. So can't see.
Because there's nothing left over, right? You're just evaluating the risk, right?
Yep.
Then a security risk intrinsic to an asset being audited where no mitigation has been taken place. So that's not residual, right? Because that's not after the fact. So I'm going with A.
Okay. Yeah. And once again, it says no mitigation has taken place. So residual risk is what is left after you do something, and it is after you implement controls. So the A is the correct answer. Let's pivot back over. Who got it right? We got Christine in the house. Salome. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. And a sit. Is it a sit or a seat? Please tell us if it was the first or second. I want to pronounce it correctly in the future. Looks like Sergio said B, and then Sarah said C. Guys, but remember, hopefully our explanation kind of walked you through our thought process in getting this right. It is A, right? So no system is 100% secure, which means there's always some risk left over. After implementing controls, this is called residual risk. So hopefully that helps. Fantastic. Moving on to question 17. We're rocking and rolling through, guys. Only 2 more questions, and then we're pivoting over to the content itself. So here we go. Preservation of confidentiality within info systems requires that the information is not disclosed to.
Okay, so no, hold on here.
This is
not, right? Remember that always when these questions, what not, right? The double negatives aren't even negatives. Yeah. So is it A, authorized persons, B, unauthorized persons or processes, C, unauthorized persons, right, or authorized persons and process? So which one are you going to eliminate? So which one is not disclosed, right?
You're not, if you're focusing on confidentiality, you don't want this data leaked to anybody. So who is it not disclosed to? Well,
authorized people, you want them to have it. So
right. So it's unauthorized people.
Right. Well, you eliminate A, B, unauthorized persons. Okay. Yep. I would say that's a half of the puzzle. Authorized persons and process. Well, they're authorized.
Right. So you would want those processes to not be disclosed to unauthorized processes. Absolutely.
So, which is not disclosed, right? So that I would go with B as well. Unauthorized persons or processes.
Cool. So looks like we have, looks like those are coming through. I think this was the easy ball for the night. So we'll give it to you guys. Congratulations. Well done. Claps all around. Let me send those your way. All right. This next one is going to be tough because we have not covered this content to date. So let's jump in. Which of the following is not one of the 3 goals of integrity addressed by the Clark-Wilson model?
Now, first, before you go into it, does anyone know the Clark-Wilson model?
Yeah, that would be interesting. I'd love to hear if they did. Since we haven't covered it, it would mean they would have had to study ahead. Mm-hmm. So I would love to hear if anybody studied ahead or heard it or used it in your everyday life, because I I haven't.
You have not.
I have not.
You have not used it.
I have not used it. Now, the interesting thing was I was talking to Vivek on LinkedIn throughout the week, and he said he's studying ahead. So I'd be curious if he's on or if he's messed up the time zones again. But let's go ahead and jump through this question if you're cool with it.
Yeah. So A, prevention of the modification of information by unauthorized users. B, prevention of the unauthorized or unintentional modification of information by authorized users. C, preservation of the internal and external consistencies. B, prevention of the modification of information by authorized users.
Yeah. So can I walk you through my? So once again, I've now read about Clark-Wilson model. I've studied it. We've talked about it. But if I hadn't, here's where my head would go. It said 3 goals of integrity. So integrity is you don't want the unauthorized modification or changing of information. So A is the prevention of the modification. Check. I want that one. B, prevention of unauthorized or unintentional modification. Check. I definitely want that one. preservation of internal and external consistency. I'm on the fence about that one. And then you go to D and it says prevention of the modification of information by authorized users.
Okay, so now let's talk about C just before everyone answers, right? We've got Christina already throws in D already. Wait till Simone. So preservation of internal and external consistency. So think about integrity. The data or the information has not been changed and is integral to the you be able to access it and be able to use it. So the internal and external consistency of the data, because the integrity means it's not been changed.
Right.
Right. So that's why I would say A, B, and C are what you want. And like there's like Christine's saying, I would go with D because the prevention of the modification of information by authorized users.
So you're going C.
D.
Yeah, I'm going D. Right? Because prevention of modification of information by authorized users? No, authorized users should be able to modify the information if they're authorized, right?
And that's why
to be consistent.
Right. And the question comes back down to which of the following is not one of the three goals, right?
Correct.
Where you're not going to prevent of the modification of information by authorized users. They're going to modify it, right? They're going to update the data. They're going to do all that, but they're doing it in the correct way. The rest, A, B, and C, is what you're trying to prevent.
Now, real quick, my LinkedIn keeps freezing, so I apologize if it freezes for you guys too. It's reloading right now. So looks like Salome has never heard of the Clark-Wilson model. Perfect. We'll go through it today. Christine says D and then A. Are those to the same question, Christine? D and A. Okay. No, but let's go ahead. I think it is D as well. So there we go. And the Clark-Wilson model addresses the three following goals of integrity in its model: prevent unauthorized users from making modifications, unauthorized; prevent authorized users from making improper modifications, right? Separation of duties; and maintain internal and external consistency or well-formed transactions. All right. Whew. There we go. Question time is over. Let me go ahead and get started with our content. Awesome. So what did you guys think of the questions today? Pretty good? Let's get a thumbs up, clap, something. Let us know you're still awake after those. I think, actually, let's pause for a second. What Brandon and I discussed last week was you guys said, hey, guys, what do you guys think about doing Tuesday, Thursday? And so I talked to Brandon, and I said, okay, we both got to discuss this with our wives because if we get in trouble there, that's a no-go. But they both said, okay. So what we're looking at is we're going to postpone it 30 minutes, right, Brandon? So we're going to kick off at 7:30. Starting next week, we're going to do Tuesday and Thursday and start accelerating this puppy. So for those of you like Sean Delane, who, if you guys are ready to take this CISSP, we're going to accelerate it. We're about halfway through with the content at episode 20. So we're looking at about another 20 episodes or so, which is about 10 weeks. So in 2.5 months, we'll be completely through all of the CISSP content. Now, I would like to ask, I know who's looking to take it in the next 2.5 months. I know there's a few people who I just talked to and invited to this. Some are looking at taking it sooner. Some are looking at taking it in the next 6 months. But we'd love to hear, when are you looking at taking it? Is that what you're looking for, is twice a week? We'll take it a month at a time. If we got to slow it back down, Brandon, we can always do that. But
well, I think what happens if we do it twice a week, at least they're going to cover the content. And because it's recorded, you can always go back and review.
Truth. Now, this week may not be recorded because I was scrambling and I never got YouTube connected. So we may be missing episode 20. But I'll see what I can do. Good. Yeah, I think Restream records it for a couple days. So I'll try to pull it and upload it.
No, you're good. I actually got it. So just to let you know, as we're doing it, I've actually, both Joel and I are on the same account. So I'm a support now. So this kind of supporting host. So I'm looking the back end, its configuration. So we're all good. It's been recorded. It's on YouTube right now. If you guys want to go watch it. So it'll be on Twitch, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So anyone that's on those platforms, give us a thumbs up, say hello. But yeah, we're good. We're trying to make sure you guys are covered now. And if you want to watch it later and review, it's there for you guys.
Gosh, I love having good tech support. Anybody else? All right. Well, let's jump in, guys, because we got a lot of content to cover today. And then we will be back with you next Tuesday, kicking off 2 a week. So let's jump in. First and foremost, we're jumping into the rest of the security models for the week. So the first is the Biba model, B-I-B-A model. Now, for some non-military organizations, integrity is more important than confidentiality, right? So out of this need, several integrity-focused security models were developed, such as those developed by the Biba and then the Clark-Wilson models, which we'll talk about later. The Biba model was designed after the Bell-LaPadula model, which we discussed last week. And actually, we should do a quick recap, Brandon. Are you cool with me doing a recap real quick?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. Let me go ahead and share some of these pictures. I think it would be best if we jump through some of this stuff. So let me go. This is for today, but I need the past 7 days. Here we go. All right. So let's actually start down here with trusted computing base. Let's go application, and here we go. All right, guys. So let me kick this up. Nope, the chat's in the way. Cool. So this is the security perimeter, isolation, or separation for the trusted computing base. So you can see there the green bubble is what's trusted. You have a security perimeter around it. And then you have the not trustworthy stuff outside of that green bubble. Now let's see if this works. I wonder if I can do this. And this one, nope, it's not going to let me. All right, let me try this a little different for the next picture. Next up was TCB design. And where does it start? It starts at the security kernel, right? So you have your hardware. On top of that, you have your security kernel, which is going to tell you which processes are allowed to pull which resources. Then you have your OS, and then you have your user space. Now, this should work. Let's try this. From there, we talked about this picture, right? When pre-COVID state machine model, where you start at home, you go to work, you take the train to work, you're at a secure state at work, and then you take the train back, you're a secure state at home, and then you slip the slippers off, jump in bed, you're at another secure state. What that really looks like in a real business or network entity is something more like this, right? Where you are focused on the security in each state. So it's on sale. You're going to add it to a wish list. It'll go to in wish list state and it's secure there. If you remove it from the wish list, great. It'll go back to on sale, or then you can add it to the cart and pay. And each of those circles are secure states. Next up is your non-interference model. So this model ensures that actions at each security level have no effect on objects at any other security level. So you can see here that these are completely isolated security levels. So you keep all your resources. I mean, it's the names, it's pretty self-explanatory, non-interference model. Next up is the access control matrix, which is simply a matrix which states the different access controls, right? Domain 1, 2, 3, what does each object have? What does each user have? If it's in a graph like this, it's ACM or access control matrix. All right, I'm going rapid fire, guys, because we covered all this last week. So if you need more content, please check out last week's stream. Next up is, believe it or not, the Bell-LaPadula model. And this is about user restrictions, right? So you don't get a read up and you can't write down. There's no stealing of secrets and no divulging of secrets. So it talks about the simple security properties, and simple means reading or loading from a disk. Then it talks about star properties, and star is writing or saving to a disk. And then strong properties is you're enforcing properties that you can only read and write on the exact same level that you have permissions. All right, where were we? Next is take grant model, and there's this really cool mathematical formula that you absolutely do not need to know. But what the take grant model is it's talking about the permissions. It's talking about taking permissions or giving permissions, and also the auditing of permissions as well. So if you're looking to audit permissions, or you see something about auditing permissions on the exam, chances are take and grant protection model is going to be the answer. And then last but not least for our recap is an information flow model. So I know Sarah does some web app testing, and our example last week was, this is what we do as web application pen testers. We're seeing if there's a leakage of data as data flows throughout the different states. How can I manipulate that data? Can I flip bits? Can I change pricing? Can I do something with a token that was assigned someplace and use it someplace else, etc.? So that is the information flow model. How'd I do, Brandon?
Good. That's awesome. Cool.
And I know you're troubleshooting on behalf, trying to get this all sorted out for us, but I just wanted to rip through that for you guys. So that's a quick recap. Now, when we talked about the LaPadula model, it was very much about keeping people in the same bracket and only allowing them the correct permissions when they're allowed, right? So if it's a top secret level clearance, the people below that cannot read up or write up, right? They can't change that permission level. So when we talk about the Biba model, let's go ahead and pivot over to that. It's kind of the opposite, not quite, but kind of. And I'll show you what I mean here momentarily.
You gonna bring up this picture, the image?
Yep. I'm pulling it up here shortly. Ooh, I'm gonna have to blow that up a hair. Give me just a moment. Oh, it's a little blurry. Drat. Let's see if that'll work. All right, Brandon, tell me if you can see that. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it looks good.
Okay. So the Biba model is about integrity, and it's funny because I think about I always try to think about how will I remember this come test time? Well, think of baby's bib for this one.
Right.
So bear with me. But if we're talking about integrity, we want to make sure that the object is not changed, right? So if you're wearing if a baby's wearing a bib, it's making sure that his garment isn't changed. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what the Biba model talks about. So you can see in this picture, you have an object, and that object, and hold on, let me head over to my notes real quick. So the basic properties are, here we go. For a simple integrity property, it states that a subject cannot read an object at a lower integrity level, no read down. And the star integrity property states that a subject cannot modify an object at a higher integrity level, so no write up. So you can read, you can take a peek. You can actually, an object you can read up, but you can't write up and you can't read down. So it's kind of interesting because you're worried about the integrity or it not changing, which means the higher integrity object can write down, but you can't read down. It's a very interesting model, but it's kind of the opposite of the Bell-LaPadula model. Now, let's talk about the different things it's designed to address. So the Biba model was designed to prevent the modification of objects by unauthorized subjects. It was designed to prevent unauthorized modification of objects by authorized subjects. So hold on. Unauthorized modification of objects by authorized subjects, and protect internal and external object consistency. Right. So you could tell these are going to be easily confused even with the Clark-Wilson as well.
Right. And then it's saying as well as the Bell-LaPadula, BIPA requires that all subjects and objects have a classification label. Mm-hmm. Thus, data integrity protection is dependent on data classification.
Yeah,
that's important. So because you have to classify your data, right?
Absolutely. Well, if it's not classified, how do you create the permissions around it, right?
Correct.
Yep. So when you're talking about the Biba properties, the second property of the Biba model is really straightforward. The subject cannot write to an object at a higher integrity level. You can't do it. So you can't write up. Now, that makes sense. But what about the first property? Why can't a subject read an object at a lower integrity level? Does anybody know? I'd love to pivot back over. Why can't it read down? I mean, you guys are looking at this, right? You're seeing that higher integrity object, it's X'd out and it can't read an object down a level. Why not? What is the purpose of that? If I have a top secret, I should be able to read secret, right, Brandon?
Right. I mean, logically, right?
Right. But let's think about this a little differently. Let's think about these different integrity levels as being the purity level of air. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't want to pump air from the smoking section of a clean room into the clean room environment, right? A smoking section into a clean room environment. You don't want to do that. So if you can think about the Biba security model, gosh, I went from babies to smoking. That's probably not the best way to go about it, but
right. Some mother's going to complain.
I know. Yeah. Anyways, let's move on quickly. Catches that. The same applies to data. So when integrity is important, you do not want unvalidated data read into validated documents. The potential for data contamination is too great to permit this access. Yep. And Sean's got it. He says compartmentalization, right? So when integrity is important, you don't want that unvalidated data read into validated documents. Now, there are a few drawbacks to this as well.
Right.
It only addresses integrity, not confidentiality or availability. It focuses on protecting objects from external threats, but it assumes internal threats are handled programmatically. It also doesn't address access control management, and it doesn't provide a way to assign or change an object's classification level. So when you talk about take grant, that's giving and taking permissions. The Biba model doesn't even address that. And it also doesn't prevent covert channels.
Right. And then it says because the Biba model focuses on data integrity, it is a more common choice for commercial security models than the Bella Lapadula model. Some commercial organizations are more concerned with the integrity of their data than its confidentiality.
Well, do you want to talk to that a little more? Brandon, why would they be more concerned about integrity than confidentiality?
Well, I mean, think about like all the data that people are trying to protect right now, right? And get access to. They don't want it modified. They don't want it manipulated. They just want to be able to get access to it.
Yeah.
I want to be able to get access to it. It's the right data when I need it, how I need it. And that comes back to the CIA, confidentiality, data, the integrity and availability.
Yep.
They want it available and they want exactly the data. The confidentiality, when you talk about, other organizations, unless it's HR, financial, HIPAA, something along that line, they're kind of like, yeah, we've given rights. We've done all that. It's secure.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I went to a workshop. It was a Postman workshop, and Postman is all about working with APIs. And it was really an interesting workshop because we were actually experimenting with the Twitter API. So Brandon, did you know that all of Twitter, all of the tweets that you've ever posted are publicly available via API?
Yes.
So I can query the Twitter API and pull every tweet that says Brandon Krieger on it, every single one, and it'll return all that data to me. Now, so that is talking about, hey, we don't care about the confidentiality. We don't care who has the data, but we can't let it change, right? I can't let somebody come in and change Brandon's tweets because we need those to have integrity so that we can pull them and they know that the person who tweeted that tweet tweeted the tweet.
Right. Well, also you're looking at let's call Twitter and let's call Facebook, and we're seeing this now more and more that they want the integrity of the data because they're using that for marketing, research, things along that line. So if the data keeps changing, they don't want that. They want to know if I went to Starbucks and I'm a frequent one at Starbucks in Toronto, and the location and what do I buy and like all that. They want that data to be able to utilize and work with.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. They do. And trust me, they're using it. Have you seen the, what is that new movie? Shoot, I'm blanking now. It's about the social dilemma.
No, which one?
Oh, it's on Netflix. It's called The Social Dilemma. And it talks about how each of us on social media have our own persona and how they're monetizing your persona.
Right.
And it was really interesting how they can tune up the amount of ads they're posting in front of you. And it's just really interesting based on your purchasing habits. And if you have clicked an ad in the past, I mean, all that data they have and they're monetizing it for each and every one of us, right? So Salome's got her own persona. Sean does. Sarah does. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
All right, let's head back to everybody. Are you guys still with us? Who's all still here? Give us some thumbs up. Let us know you're awake. Some hearts are always good. We're moving on to the Clark Wilson model. I know that security models aren't the sexiest thing in the world. I'm fully aware, but we're trying to keep you guys awake for sure. All right, so they'll get that message here in about 10 seconds, but let's go ahead and jump into the Clark
Wilson.
You ready?
I'm ready. So Clark Wilson model uses a multifaceted approach to enforcing data integrity. Instead of defining a formal state machine, the Clark Wilson model defines each data item and allows modification through only a small set of programs.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're looking at this Clark Wilson model, it's got 3-part relationship, right? So you can see that it's got, did I throw it up? Oh, Brandon, tech support rocks. I'll just tee it up. You throw it up whenever we're ready.
There we go.
It's got subject, programs, and objects, right? It's known as triple or access control triples. Now, subjects do not have direct access to objects. Objects can be accessed only through programs. So remember this. It uses these 2 principles. When we talk about Clark Wilson, it's got 2 main principles, and that is well-formed transactions and the separation of duties. And the way it does that separation of duties is through programs. Now, can you guys see that image pretty well? Let me try to resize it real quick for everybody. It's not like...
No, I think it looks good on LinkedIn. I got the LinkedIn screen here.
Yeah, it's not letting me blow it up too much. Okay. Yeah, but so what you can see, and we'll talk through this a little bit, but these well-formed transactions are going to take the form of programs. So you're going to have an interface. You're going to have software, something controlling it, or an access portal. And it's only going to be able to access objects that are given, that we have given that program permission to access. So you can see here on the left, you have transformation procedures, read, write, modify. You have integrity verification procedures, and then you have constrained data items. That constrained data item with the star in the top right corner, that is the data that can only be accessed through that green bubble, which is your program. And that's the only way users can make it through that to that resource. While on the other hand, if you look at the top left-hand corner, you have unconstrained data items. You don't need to use the program, right? You can read, write, modify. It's not part of that system. So I want to show you real quick. This is the picture that they gave us in the book. I think the one I picked was a little better. But basically it's saying, look, the client has to go through your access portal or the data in order to get to the database or resource. There's no other way. So that, I mean, you got to think this is a model used by how many people? You have to log into our website or our application. You have to authenticate with a username, password, multi-factor, or your face or thumbprint in order to get to the database or resource. Tons of people do it. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, do you have to authenticate? You might have to, you might not to, I don't remember. But it's used widely, right? So let's talk about a few of the specific limitations of this model. Well, actually, real quick, I had the actual terminology, so I figured I'd throw that up real quick. You have users. These are also considered active agents. You have transformation procedures, or TPs. This is a programmed abstract operation such as the read, write, modify, right, that the program has access for. Then you have a constrained data item. That's a data item whose integrity is to be preserved, and it can only be manipulated by the transformation procedures which live in the program. I know, I'll throw the picture back up so this all makes sense in a sec. Then you have your UDI, or the unconstrained item. That's data outside of the controlled area. And then you have your integrity verification procedure, and that's to check the consistency of the constrained data items with the external reality. So let me bring back that picture and it'll make sense, right? Whew. Brandon.
Covering a lot, huh?
You there?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm with you.
All right, cool. So we have, you can see the IVP is the right-hand side on the bottom right. You have auditors to check consistencies over there, but you also have that integrity verification procedures, or IVPs, inside the program to check that only users from that application or program are accessing that constrained data.
So does anyone have any questions about that? I know you've gone through, it's very deep unless you know this. So what do you think about it, Joel?
I think it's good. I think that having, I mean, this is, once I read it and I understood it, it was like, oh, we do this at our job, right? You have to sign on to the VPN in order to get to the web portal. And then that web portal has a restricted tunnel to the database. Like, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's the Clark-Wilson model, right? So being able to put those together. So if you have something at work that uses this model, relate it to that when it comes test time, and you won't be able to forget the Clark-Wilson model.
Right. Perfect.
Cool. Let's go ahead and move on real quick. So I'm going to stop sharing this real quick, and let's move on to the Brewer and Nash model, aka the Chinese wall. Brandon, will you kick us off?
Yeah, the Brewer and Nash model was created to permit access controls to change dynamically based on users' previous activities, making it a kind of state machine model as well. The model applies to a single integrated database. It seeks to create security domains that are sensitive to the notion of conflict of interest. For example, someone who works at company C who has access to proprietary data from company A should not also be allowed access to similar data for company B if the two companies compete with each other. So that connection from A to B to C, right?
Yeah. So you ready for this picture? This one's, you guys won't be able to forget. And I may have frozen again. Let me did anybody have any questions? Checking over on LinkedIn real quick. I had a private message real quick. Give me just a moment. Oh, cool. Yeah. So Mr. Tripathy asked where he can see those old videos, buddy. I'll get you that link here shortly. Salome, I just seen your message. Is there a class today? Yeah, sorry. I ran into I started live streaming on a different live stream on accident. So we were running into some technical issues at the beginning. So sorry for being late, not having a countdown today. But back to the Brewer Nash security model, aka Chinese wall. You'll never guess what's in the middle of this picture. A big wall.
Right.
So this is basically used to implement dynamically changing access permissions. So what you probably can't see is in that orange square, the yellow bubbles, you have your corporate assets. That's what those yellow bubbles are. They all say corporate assets. So if you have subject Alfred at the bottom and he's categorized as orange, he can only access client alpha. He cannot access client beta or client client C, because there's a conflict of interest in the class. So the wall is a defined set of rules that ensures no subject for one side of the wall can access objects on the other side of the wall. So yeah, once again, Brewer Nash. I wish there was an easy way to relate that to Chinese wall, but I'm thinking of nothing right now. Big fat zero. But Brewer Nash security model, Chinese wall.
Well, if you think about the Chinese wall, you can kind of just use that analogy, one side to the other side, right? If you just kind of visualize that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, what if they don't give you Chinese wall on the test, right? What if they, hey, Brewer Nash security model, what is it talking about? And it gives you a set of options. Like, how do we relate Brewer Nash to Chinese wall? Because if you say Chinese wall, I'll never forget this. But if they don't,
if you say Brewer Nash, went and played music at the Chinese wall, and you kind of visualize that, that might trigger you to kind of go, oh yeah, Chinese wall.
Steve Nash played basketball at the Chinese wall. Now you're talking my language.
Well, there you go.
All right.
His brother, Brewer.
There we go. There we go. Cool. All right. Wow, we have ripped through this pretty good. Well, it's 7:45 already, so we're actually a little early. But these next couple are pretty simple. It was interesting. So I go through a lot of CISSP data now, Brandon, and I went through, when I was looking for some of these pictures, I was like skimming through the different presentations they had for CISSP training, and they didn't even cover this next model. Like their whole presentation didn't exist. And in the CISSP content ad, it just really skimmed over it. So this is all I'm going to show you guys because it's skimmed. I want to at least give it to you because it's in the book and in the content, but it looked like a lot of other people were skimming by it. So this is called the Guggen-Messegur model. It's also an integrity model.
Is it German?
I don't know. Guggen anything is German, right?
I think so.
Okay, then definitely German. It's based on predetermining a list of objects that a subject can access, right? So it's all predetermined. So if you're thinking German, right, they try to predict the future. I don't know. That's how I'm thinking about it. So if Guggen future, Messenger,
right,
something like that. So it's predetermining it so that you know exactly what each and every subject can access. Subjects are only allowed to take those predetermined actions, and it's based on an automation theory and domain separation. So you'll have separate domains predetermining what each user and object can access. Members of one subject domain cannot interfere with the members of others, which is similar to the Brewer Nash, aka Chinese wall. All right. Let's see what we got up next. Sutherland model. You want to take this one, Brandon?
Yeah, sure.
This was another one they skipped through pretty quick. So
yeah, I mean, these are kind of smaller models. Now, did you have an image for this?
Yeah, I got it right here. Here you go.
Perfect. Yeah. So just pulling this up on my screen here. So it's an integrity model, formally based on the state, machine, and information flow models. It focuses on preventing interfaces into support of integrity, and the model is based on an idea of defining set of system states, initially state and a state transition. Through the use of only this predeterminate state, secure state, integrity is maintained and interference is prohibited. So it's a pretty simple one when you look at it.
Yeah, it is a simple one, but we wanted to bring it to you just so we didn't gloss over it, right? So based on the state machine, remember, you're at secure state at each set. Focus on preventing interference throughout each of those to support integrity. Boom, Sutherland model. Checking another one off. All right, next up, we got Graham Denning. Let me see if I got a picture for this. Okay, this one's a little trickier to understand, so let's walk through some of the text, and then we'll throw up the pictures for this deal. All right, the Graham Denning model is focused on a secure creation and deletion of both subjects and objects. The Graham Denning is a collection of 8 primary protection rules or actions that define the boundaries of certain actions. So Salal, is it Salal? I believe is how you pronounce your name. Just say yes or no if I'm saying your name right, please. I want to get it right in the future. But Salal said the Clark Wilson is the one that's asked often.
Yeah.
And I agree, it's the one a lot of people use, right? So knowing the Clark Wilson, that's why we spend a lot more time on it. I think the Graham Denning might also be touched on, so it's going to be a good one to know, which is why I pulled these pictures up. But it's going to basically walk through 8 things. You have to be able to securely create an object, a subject. Then you have to be able to securely delete an object and a subject. Then you have to be able to securely provide read access, grant access right, delete access right, and transfer access right. So those controls. And I wanted to bring that in. So this Graham Denning model looks a little something like this. So the first 4, subject Alice can create object file number 1. She can, number 2 is she creates subject P1. Then she can destroy file 1, but she has to own it in order to destroy it, right? So there's some quirks to it as well. Then subject Alice destroys P1. Alice must also own P1 in order to destroy it. And then moving on to the last 4, she's granting read-write access. That's kind of 5 and 6. And then 6 is Alice transfers a read-write or read-read, but she also has to have the right to read it. I know it's a little confusing, but then subject Alice deletes a right to read on file 1. She also must control it. And it looks like Salal actually passed the CISSP last week. Salal, just curious, are you interested in joining us here at the end of this? Because is this the last one, Brandon?
For this section, yeah, this is the last one.
Yeah, so this was our last one. That was the end of our session. But real quick, it looks like Salal, I got to throw some claps for you, man. Congratulations on passing that. Are you interested in hopping on this with us real quick and letting us just ask you a few questions about it? Just say yes or no in the chat. I'll see what I can do to get you this. How do you feel about that, Brandon? Can we?
Yeah, we can bring him on, and I got him ready to go.
You already sent him the link?
No, if he's ready to come in, once he messages it, I can send him the link to jump on.
Cool. Yeah. So let's see what he says. I'm excited to get you guys some real world experience right here in this live stream, real time. So sorry to put you on the spot, buddy, but please hop in with us. I think it'd be really cool to have you on. It would only be for about 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, and then we'll all hop off for the night, but we'd love to hear your experience. And guys, give it up to him. Can we get some claps in the house for Bilal passing the CISSP, man? That is no small feat. I was looking at statistics today, Brandon, or the other day, but it said 20%, only 20% pass on the first time.
Yeah. It's a hard exam. Like you have to know a lot.
Yeah, you really do. Well, cool. We'll send him that link. If he clicks it, we'll bring him into the stream. Deal?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's now gone silent on us.
Oh, he's there. He said, I can just type it in here. You know, come on in. We want to actually kind of ask you some questions.
Yeah, man. Right? Even if you got bedhead, it's not a problem. We get it. That's why I'm wearing a hat. So throw a hat on real quick. Click the link. I don't normally tell you to do that, but click the restream.io link that Brandon's going to send you, and we'll actually bring you on as a guest real quick, just for a couple minutes if you're down for it. You didn't realize by saying that we'd try to bring him on.
He's like, no, I didn't pass. Leave me alone. I'm good. Right? Exactly. I don't want to be live.
All right, well, let's see if he can hop in real quick. So think of a question, guys. We want to be able to ask him your questions. He said Clark Wilson is asked often. So I'm kind of curious, how many questions Clark Wilson about Clark Wilson actually existed, or about these security models? I'm going to say you'll probably see, maybe 4 or 5 questions about security models. What do you think, Brandon?
You know, I think it's variable. I think it depends on how you're answering the questions. I think a lot of these tests, what you'll find is if you answer like a 3 or 4 questions correctly, they kind of move you on to a different domain, different area. And if you're starting to struggle, to ask you more questions to clarify, do you know this topic? But if you like bang through them, they keep moving on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I also heard like if you're doing really well, they just get harder and harder until they'll even end it early if you've passed, if you've done really well, which is really exciting. So, you know, I know Vivek is looking at taking it end of January. So he's got like 2.5 weeks, and I think he missed our session today. So he's going to have to go back and catch up. All right. I think we have our guest speaker on. He's dialing in now. You got him?
There we go.
Harder and harder until they'll even end it early if you've passed. I'm going to mute you, Salal. If you'll mute your LinkedIn real quick so we don't get the echo, and then we'll bring you in. We'd love to get your feedback on this.
Yeah, just give us a some thumbs up when you're ready.
All right, here we go. Awesome. Congratulations. Can you hear us okay? Salal, are you there? I'm going to mute you, Salal. If you'll mute your LinkedIn real quick so we don't. So he's got that delay coming through still on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It's about 10 minutes behind. But Salal, if you mute that real quick, I'll unmute you on here. Give us the thumbs up and perfect. So he's ready to go.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yep. 5 by 5.
Congratulations.
So, congratulations from both of us on passing the exam. Good for you.
So tell us that you saw Clark Wilson a lot. What was kind of the thing that surprised you the most? Was it hard all the way through? Was it easy at the beginning and got progressively harder? Give us like a quick sneak peek of your experience.
There are some multiple difficult questions. I was expecting to finish by question 100. Then I got nervous after it didn't finish. I went all the way to 150.
Wow.
I wasn't sure if I'm gonna pass. I was thinking maybe I wasn't able to pass, but I provisionally passed, luckily.
That's super exciting. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So now Sean has a question before you jump in there, Joel. Sean was curious, how long did you study? And what material did you choose? Like what books, what resources?
Yeah, let me take a look at that. I used LinkedIn Learning.
Mm-hmm.
I used Mike Chappell's the LinkedIn Learning videos, then the CISSP official study guide, the textbook.
Okay.
And it has also Wiley Seebeck's online questions. I used Cyber IT, Kelly Handerhan, and I briefly used Sean Harris' book and Thor Anderson questions.
Okay. So now Sean Harris, one of the older versions?
Yeah. I started in July.
Okay.
I was expecting to take it in a few months, but I lost my job.
Oh,
so it took more than I expected. I just take it last week and I passed the exam.
Good for you.
Did you get a new job?
Yeah, I got a new job, yes.
Congrats. So what are you doing?
I work at Deloitte as a cloud security analyst.
Fantastic. Are you mostly Azure or GCP or AWS?
Generally AWS. A senior consultant cloud security.
Nice. Are you working towards your cloud security certification?
I got to AWS actually. AWS Solutions Architect, Associate and AWS Security.
You got the specialty security, huh?
Yes.
Congratulations.
I was working as a government contractor actually before this job.
Okay. Well, congratulations. That's super exciting.
Thank you. I'm planning for CCSP.
CCSP. Brandon, what was the next cert you wanted to study for after this?
CCISO.
Have you heard of that one, Salal?
No.
Okay, so is that the EC Council one, Brandon?
That's the EC Council one.
EC Council, yeah. I got CEH from EC Council.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I don't have that much experience. I have only over 2 years of experience.
Gotcha.
Normally, I don't join these live things, but my son insisted me. He's looking at me right now next to me. He is studying, doing his homework.
We're all studying, right? All of this time.
We're all studying together. Well, hey, Salal, thank you so much. And I want to thank your son. Hey, Bork, thank you for pushing your dad to jump on with us today. Tell him congrats. Your dad is an amazing man. You should be very proud of him.
Awesome. Thank you.
Salal, thanks so much for joining us. We hope you have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you for doing this for the community.
You're welcome. Have a great night.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye. Awesome, guys. Wow, what a great interview we did. Spur of the moment. Congrats on the new role, Sean says. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. That was episode 20, Brandon.
I know. We're flying through this new year. I mean, as of next week, right? We're going to be doing 2? Or are we doing it this Thursday?
As of next week. So we will be here again next Tuesday. And then starting from that time on, we're going to be going twice a week.
Okay. So what I'm going to ask everyone that's watching this, put this in your calendar, right? put it as a recurring appointment Tuesday and Thursday. Let's kind of get this CISSP together. Let's, the ones that have done it, give us insight, what you see, what you're doing with. And I think it's the one thing I want to see is how are you using it real world? I think that's really going to help people to kind of really understand, like, you passed it, you did it, and this is what you've been using day in and day out, and this is what your expertise in that area. Because one thing I'm finding, Joel, and tell me if this is what you're finding, you learn all this depth of knowledge, but then also you get to this is your role, and you do this kind of roles, and maybe 3 of the 8 domains. Is that where you're focusing day in and day out? I really like to kind of hear that. So put in your calendar. Let me know. Like make sure you're here for the Tuesday. Same time on Tuesday. Thursday, we're going to be at
7:30 p.m. Should we just start next week, 7:30 p.m.?
Next week, 7:30. Do you want to do Tuesday and Thursday, 7:30 p.m.?
I would say so. Salome said that, just for the West Coast time, she's still at work. So if we're going to accelerate this thing, it's going to start at 7:30, go till 8:30, Tuesday, Thursday, 7:30 to 8:30, moving forward. So click on your calendar right now. Go to Gmail, go to your Outlook calendar, click on Tuesday, every Tuesday, Thursday.
Recurring.
Future, yep.
Recurring to the end of the year, because to let you guys know. But hold on, you laugh now, Joe. But I think we've talked to this offline. Is we're going to move on to the next certification once this is gone, which is over. We're going to move on to the next one, right? We've got a couple in the pipe that we're talking about, but we're going to move on to the next one. And I think our goal right now is to help everyone excel to that next level and just go through the journey of our certifications. And if something you're going to do, perfect. You can come along with the journey, but at least you're going to be learning how this applies and, keep you up to date with the cybersecurity.
Yeah. Well, and Brandon said we got a couple in the pipe. So after this, we may even, do a poll or something, get your guys' opinion on what you guys are interested in. But really our goal here is the certification's great, but this is about bringing you guys with us to become the next leaders in cybersecurity, right?
Exactly.
Somebody has to do this role, because as you guys have seen from the sunburst, solar winds, good Lord, we need good leaders in cybersecurity more now than ever before.
And I think as we go through, we get through the CISSP, we're going to try, and we didn't really get a chance last year. We brought a few people in, but this year we're going to bring in more experts.
Yep, we definitely will. And we've got a couple teed up already for you guys. This is right now, we're kind of just grinding through the models and a lot of the work, but at some point we're going to bring people in for the real world experience, and they're going to tell you how they do it, and it's going to stick, and it's going to be fantastic for this. So with that, thank you for joining us. It is 8 o'clock. This was episode 20 of the Cyber Incision live stream for your CISSP study guide. Have a lovely evening, everybody. We love you all.
Have a good night.